it. Well,
that's
I
gave you my permission. Yeah, there's nothing really more dramatic. It's even better than 20th Century Fox's Searchlights.
Yeah. I mean, I think
if you want a dramatic open, this meeting is being recorded. Randy Newman's uncle wrote that piece.
What?
Randy Newman's uncle wrote that music for 20th Century Fox.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, whatever it is. It's so good. It's so good no one remembers it.
An interesting tidbit regarding Randy Newman is I played a song on Drive Time Radio this week. I play a cartoon,
right?
A musical piece every week. And this week I played one from the movie Cars 2, which I've never gone to. I know there's a wealth of stuff there.
There's something there
that I've never touched. I've never really touched. I haven't done Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I haven't done, I've done a couple of songs from a couple of Elvis movies, because just that Elvis recorded more car songs, I think, than anybody else.
Really?
I think he has 11 or 12 songs about cars. So,
wow. So there's no shortage there.
Yeah. So as I meandered through the Cars catalog, I actually fell upon it because I was looking for something French. I don't know why, but I was in like kind of a French mood. So I was looking for somebody, trying to figure out if there was something somebody had written about their Peugeot or their Renault, because it seemed those cars would lend themselves.
Citroën.
Well, Citroën, yes. There's like so much there that you could, if you were a French songwriter, I could imagine Ronnie in the Daytona singing, little Citroën, it's too easy.
It's too good.
I came upon the soundtrack for Cars 2, and there's just this enchanting little song. My heart, in English, it goes, my heart goes vroom, vroom, vroom. But it's all sung in French.
I like it so far.
And so, of course, I read the history on this stuff, and I find out that Cars 2 is the only Cars movie that Randy Newman, see, I told you I was going to get to Randy Newman here, that Randy Newman had not written a score for.
Whoa.
I mean, everybody associates him. Well, they associate him with many things besides cars, and this is particular interest to me because I'm planning this trip this year along Route 66 for my 66th birthday, my present to myself.
I think that's a great idea.
We're going to have to figure a way to get you out there to do some of this, if not all, probably not all of it, but at least a piece of it with me. Maybe we can get you to Flagstaff.
I found a song yesterday on my in my Spotify called Ford Econoline, and I'm gonna have to search it up for you. I can't find it right now.
Okay, yeah. Keep I would think there would be a few recent songs about cars.
It's by Chuck Prophet, the Ford Econoline.
Oh, I know Chuck Prophet.
Yeah, you know Chuck Prophet from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And I had saved it on my Spotify.
She pulled over, said, "Climb on in." I did what she said. She turned the music up real loud. It was the Talking Heads.
So you can imagine what happens next in the Ford Econoline.
Yeah, and I have to check the lyrics because the station that we're on has a strict, very strict decency policy.
Well, there's no stooping that I know of, but I think it's implied.
Well, yeah, they can imply, they just can't actually. We found that out one morning when we played something that actually had a, And for the first time in a while, I got a call from the program director.
He was listening. He was listening to your show.
The people at the station actually listened to the show.
Excellent.
Yeah, it has. You know what? We have a pretty incredible little. We're not grand numbers like a Cairo or a Como or whatever they call it these days. But you get a bunch of people. I think I try to figure out, and I should actually look at this. I don't, whether more people listen on the air or more people listen on the internet. But I get a lot of people from Pittsburgh listen online.
Excellent. Thank you, Pittsburgh.
Yes, that show and this one, I know they listen to this one too. The drive time show that I did in Pittsburgh got a lot of listenership. People in Pittsburgh love cars. I mean, it's a car city. Even though it has a great mass transportation system, it's a car city. It's a car area.
Part of the dream of being a Pittsburghian.
Well, there used to be in Pittsburgh, Mikey. By the way, we didn't say good morning to everybody, and we should. Good morning, everybody.
He's New York Vinnie. He's in Seattle.
And he's Michael Knight, and he's in Los Angeles. And together with Mikey and Vinnie, we appear on your Patuta every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 10:10.
Yeah, you can't see us on your radio. You can't see us on the television, but we are on your Patuta. So thank you.
Right. You can see us on your Patuta. And let me tell you something, folks. Please don't let the kids see this.
Yeah. Have some respect for your children.
Yeah, please. Watching Mikey and Vinnie for anybody under 12 could be considered child embarrassment.
Yes, not abuse, embarrassment.
There used to be a church in Pittsburgh that used to host a Friday night car roll-in. And they would get 1,000 or 1,500 cars.
Would they get their catalytic converter blessed?
Yeah. But they would do it this Northway Christian Church up north of the city. It was the biggest Friday night cruise-in that I'd ever seen, and it was all sponsored by this church, and it was just it was a ton of fun, man. You just went there, and people from all over Western Pennsylvania brought their cars.
A lot of people don't know, but John the Baptist drove a 57 Chevy.
I think it was a 58, actually, Mikey. I think it was a 58 Del Rey.
Because he needed room in the trunk, right? That broad trunk in the 58.
Well, yeah. You got to carry water. If you're John the Baptist, you got to have water on you.
And you got to have the right kind of water. It can't just be river water or tap water.
No, you have to have, hang on a second, Mikey.
There he goes. So John the Baptist didn't always have a 57 or 58 Chevrolet. For a while, he had a Nash Rambler, but it just wasn't big enough for his needs. So he had to opt up.
Mikey.
Yeah. Holy water. Mikey and Vinnie, holy water.
It's
not coming through.
4-ounce container.
Is that from Borat?
No.
The movie film?
From the shrine of Saint John Vianney, which is in Darrington, Washington. And I drive up there every once in a while just to meditate, to say prayers, and to get my bottle of
holy water.
Mikey and Vinnie, holy water. So next to the prayer cloths.
Well, that reminds me that you could carry those in the trunk, carry a lot of those in the trunk of a 58 Chevy.
Yeah. Oh, he had this thing like knocked up, man. He would go from village to village, settlement to settlement, and call all the people, open his trunk,
honk the horn.
Say, hey, if you want in, we got the holy water. Problem was, half of the people drank it instead of anointing themselves with it.
Well, same thing with ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. John the Baptist did not. He didn't.
Well, he wasn't telling people to. It is similar in the fact that John the Baptist said, spread this on yourself,
Yeah.
and you will have the salvation of Jesus. He didn't say, drink this
And you're gonna see Jesus.
and you're going to feel better. You're going to meet Jesus.
If you drink it, you might just meet Joe Rogan, which is not the same thing.
And then I believe the Senate or whatever, body was in charge in those days didn't, say to people, well, if you're in the infirmary, you can't drink it. You shouldn't drink it. Don't drink it. So it was left up to personal choice in those days.
John the Baptist should have had a pamphlet handout with the water. It seems like.
Well, he would have, except that Gutenberg wouldn't come along for another, 1,500 years.
And Gutenberg wanted a piece, like everybody does.
He invented that little label that says Union Made.
Yeah.
Only at that time it said Gutenberg made, and anytime there was a label on a thing, he got a piece of the action.
And it would say, hello there from Dusseldorf.
Yeah, he got a farthing for, I don't know, or whatever it was. I don't know what the money system was in Gutenberg's time. It was
pre-mark.
So
They weren't Deutschmarks. They were pre-Deutschmarks.
yeah, they were Spinkenlaufers, I guess. I don't know.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Spinkenlaufers.
Whoa. So 1 penny was 1 Sprinkenlaufer, 5 cents, 5 Sprinkenlaufers.
Exchange rate was different.
The strange rate was right there in the street, right on the trunk of a 58 Chevy. You turn a Sprinkenlaufer into a farthing into a penny. You could go all day with that thing.
And then, of course, a penny into a shekel, which you needed in Israel in those days.
A shekel could go. You could use a shekel.
Work. You could go to the thing and get the thing with the shekel.
With the shekel. But you start off with a Dingelhofer or Springeldoffer?
And they all with the Sprinkeldoffer, yes.
Sprinkle.
Has that the sp.
Yeah, gotcha.
The Sprinkeldoffer. The Sprinkeldoffer turned into the yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Which
get that all straight away. Don't worry about it until John the Baptist pulls into town, then we do it on the trunk of his car, and then the exchange rate can vary slightly in your neighborhood.
Right. The problem was they had to come up with there was a lot of counterfeiting of Sprinkeldoffers in those days.
As there should be.
Because Gutenberg invented the printing press, so it was, he could bang out Sprinkeldoffers pretty easily. So he could go down to the delicatessen with, 3 or 4 made up Sprinkeldoffers and get his Rausweiler in liverwurst.
Well, while he's there, can you pick me up a malted, please? Vanilla.
Mr. Hamilton and Mr. Beach had not been born yet, so no malteds.
Someone could do a stirring. They could stir with great spirited stirring.
Yeah, they don't have the stirrers. We're busy at the butter churns.
Oh, well, that's good. We'll have ice cream soon. We can make a malted.
Except, I don't know if they knew about ice, except in the winter.
Ice was not something they used to their own advantage yet.
Right. They not yet figured out that ice wasn't just for slipping on.
No. And
that ice could be used.
They didn't have a box to keep it in. Yeah. Where we're going to put the ice, put it in the ice box.
Right. You take it, you build some kind of insulated thing, and it'll stay, you put it in the ground, it'll stay frozen.
And when you go to buy the ice box, you find out it's bolted to the floor, and the Sprinkeldoffer that you thought you were going to pay for turns out to be 5 more Sprinkeldoffers than you have, because they're out.
You had to bring a guy in to unbolt it from the floor.
Not going to happen.
And there was only one guy in town with a wrench.
And he was the guy selling you the Sprinkeldoffer washing machine.
You didn't have washing machines. Mikey, this is 1658 or something,
So the clothes just stayed slightly tarnished, slightly muddy, slightly dirty, slightly offensive.
Yeah, people at this point in the world are probably thinking everything's over at 5. Could you imagine living in Seattle in like 1650? I mean, you look up and okay, January 1650, and you get 3 hours of sunlight. And then everything goes dark.
You think the world is coming to an end.
And that happens to you every day for 2 months.
Speaking of 1650, there's a pub closing in St. Albans, England. It's called the Ye Old Fighting Cock. And the Ye Old Fighting Cock has been open since the year 793. And now, due to the COVID, it made it through the Black Plague, but it can't make it through the COVID pandemic without closing its doors for the first time in over 1,000 years.
Wow. And it's just because of the of COVID, or are there other reasons? Like
they can't pay. They
just got tired of being in the bar business.
No, they want to keep it, but they can't. They can't meet their financial obligations. So consequently, the Ye Old Fighting Cocks is closing up. Of course, now this will get people to say, well, before it closes, I want to drink in that pub, and maybe they'll get a spurt of business.
And keep it open.
Chances.
Some rich English rock star, Mick Jagger probably, or somebody, will say, oh, I have to keep that place open, Keith. Oh, look at these poor people.
Yeah.
And my son will
play a benefit concert. Yeah.
Have a big benefit Rolling Stones concert, because Charlie Watts once had a drink in that bar.
There you go.
And that pub, I should say.
Live at Ye Old Fighting Cocks, the Rolling Stones.
What better place?
How come it hasn't happened already?
What better place? And okay, so if the Rolling Stones are busy and they don't want to do it, how about Herman's Hermits?
Not quite the same ring to it. Live at Ye Old Fighting Cocks, Herman's Hermits. No. Freddie and the Dreamers.
I'm telling you now. Can you imagine a crowd of thousands doing the Freddie? Put your hand up, put your right foot in, put your left foot out, put your butt in.
It's like the Hucklebuck, but it ain't the Hucklebuck, it's the Freddie.
Do the Freddie. Was there a more ridiculous group of the British invasion than Freddie and the
Never.
Dreamers?
No, there was not. No, there was not.
No, absolutely not, man. Absolutely. What the hell ever happened to Freddie?
I was the drummer in Freddie and the Dreamers. Well, you shouldn't tell anyone that.
Don't let that get
spread that around.
But it's funny because the video of them, which I've watched several times, is hilarious.
It's just that they were more of a novelty act than they were a musical group.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they broke any musical ground anywhere except, but I mean, the songs were cute. They were, I mean, Dude Freddie was kind of, a novelty thing, but everybody was doing, I mean, do you say the Chubby Checkers, the Twist was a novelty?
Yes, I do.
Or was it Hank Ballard who did it before him?
Right. It wasn't when Hank Ballard did it, it was just a dance song. When Chubby did it, it became a novelty tune.
All right. So being as we've moved over to the subject of music here, and Mikey, you are, as I've often told you, the master of the segue. Listen to this song and tell me if you recognize it.
I can't place it. Sounds like a New York production.
It's the Whole Foods commercial.
Ooh.
The Whole Foods commercial where they hold up the thing and they hold up the silhouette and then they.
Oh yeah. And they dance. Who is it? And
it is a band called the Duets.
The Duets. I don't know them.
Duets. DU-ETTES, and they're out of Chicago. The name of the song is "Every Beat of My Heart." It is, it's a great story behind the song, and we're geeky enough on this kind of stuff.
We love this stuff.
that, that we kind of investigate. We want, you just don't listen to the commercial, especially when you hear a song that you don't immediately recognize. But the duets, Barbara Livesey, also known as Barbara Bates, and Mary Frances Hayes, two Chicago teens that were recorded for the George Leaner family of labels, which was I can't remember the names of the labels.
Cool, man.
Marvelous, Impact, Wonderful with a OND, which is probably where they got the Wonders in.
Oh yes, one-hit wonders.
With let's see, Solid Sounds that never enjoyed a chart record or even a regional breakout. Their recording career began with Mr. Steele in 1963, followed by Move On Down the Line and I'm Gonna Love You in 64, all on Impact. Then they went over to Wonderful for Lonely Days and Please Forgive Me. And Sugar Daddy dropped on Marvelous in 1965. Lonely Days appeared a second time on Lost Night in 1965, but didn't do any better.
So it's not a new recording.
Oh, no, not at all. That's a vintage, because I knew it wasn't a new recording. You could gather that just by the production and everything. It sounded like, it sounded a bit like a Wall of Sound, but I knew it wasn't a Phil Spector because I'm pretty familiar with all of his work. And but I did some research on it, and that's what I came up with. I don't know that it ever charted or anything like that.
It doesn't sound like any of their songs ever charted.
No, nothing ever charted. Barbara Livesey surfaced in 1970 as Barbara in the Uniques. But that song, I love that song.
It's a good tune.
That whole, mid 60s girl group vibe to it. And I was interested too to see if maybe they had just recreated it or come up with an original song. So I hope that, I really hope that they, I hope they got a chunk of change. I mean, who knows if she's even alive.
Good tune.
Yeah.
It's on an album called Northern Soul, Midwest Classics.
Yeah. It's on. It appears on a few compilations. I'm sure somebody bought, the whole catalog.
I was going through my Spotify. I had like 19,000 songs. I'm not going to add till I get 20,000. I'm going to go back and see if these are songs I really want in my thing. Because sometimes I make quick decisions and I just save it under my stars, and it becomes part of my shuffle.
Yeah.
And I took 700 songs out. Songs that I listened to and said, why in the world did I ever decide that I had to save this? And I put a bunch in. And so now let's see what my library is like. So I got nearly 800 songs, and I made room for songs that I really want. And the funny thing is, that means that I listened to a song and said, yeah, I want that. And then after further review, I found out that I didn't want that song. So this one is now in my collection, along with Wall of Fire by the Kinks, which is the one that just came up. And I feel better for it. I feel like I was being too liberal with my playlist, so I had to cut it back, Bill Drake style.
Yeah, well, see, that's the great thing about services like Spotify and Amazon Music and some of the stuff like that, is you don't have to go to the record store and buy it. You
Exactly.
can put it in, listen to it. If you don't like it, take it out again.
That's what I've done.
It gives you that great freedom to. Now you have not joined the I'm getting rid of my Spotify group, have you?
I haven't, because I have so much invested in my playlist. And that puts me in a very tenuous position. However, Spotify is now joining the What's Wrong with Spotify Club, as they realize, hey, there's nothing wrong with Joe Rogan. Did you listen to his show? No, we didn't. Maybe you should. And when they listened to it, they took 70 shows out after using the N word liberally to describe people that they describe as in the most heinous racist terms.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan had to go on and say, you know what, I made a terrible mistake. And then I made it again, then I made it 70 more times. And I'm really feeling sorry about it.
Well, you know, and I
You ever
I
do
don't know
something
how I
70
feel
times
about
before you
that.
got sorry about it? Do you ever do something 70 times before you apologized?
Yeah, I mean, I've used the word in the context of describing something. I think that in ways, the fact that we don't use the word to describe um, the horror of it, or what it means, in some ways takes away from the shock value of the word, from I don't know. There's something about now, and I understand. Listen, I understand the whole thing about what it means and so on and so forth. But I think in an educational context, you should be able to educate people to what the word means. Now, if he's not using it in that context, that's a whole different story.
Well, what does it mean to everyone? Does it track all the way back to the fact that using that word means you think it's permissible and should be encouraged that we can own other people?
I think at one time it did. I think that it developed over a period of time to say that it was a popular phrase for white people to just call a black person.
I know that Hitler used it in the 1938 Olympics when Jesse Owens won his first race. Hitler said, I'm not going to shake hands with an N-word. What would the people think of me? He got into his Mercedes and drove away. Snubbed, it's always acceptable for the head of state to congratulate the winners, but he refused in the
Right.
case
And
of Jesse Owens.
John Lennon used it in a song title.
Yep. And he got away with
Costello
that.
used it in, but when they both used it, they used it in the context of showing that it was a derogatory term.
Right.
And I think it had more impact like that on people than it would have if they would have made the song "Woman is the N-word of the world."
And I think we've evolved since then, even since it's not that been that long since Elvis Costello recorded the song, but
Right.
I don't think it would translate favorably today. I think we've gone too far with that. And so I don't salute Spotify for any other reason than I just found the duet song with one punch.
Yeah.
And my collection is mine and I've paid for it.
Yeah, it's I wish there was a way that we could just take it away from the world, that we just, but unfortunately, there are many people in this country and around the world that still use it in a derogatory manner.
Oh, of course.
We use it if we use it, or if it's used, hopefully it's used as a way to teach people what it means.
And it's more shocking now to hear a white person use it in hate and in dismissal than it used to be.
Yeah. I wish if I could have my way, I would, request that everybody stop using it. Because what happens, and you'll hear it, from the more uneducated people in the world, is if they can use it, why can't I use it?
Because you can't. That's why.
Because it's not your license. But to me, the world would be better if just nobody used it. If it was one of those words that have gone into the archaic lexicon of words that we don't use anymore, the vault of words that have been taken out of the language because they hurt, offend, or denigrate a human being.
And for those who have suffered, Jews, Slovaks, Poles, Gypsies, who have ever suffered at the hands of government in a stylized, perfected, hateful, militarized way to wipe out a people or to sublimate them, to subject them to this on an ongoing basis. Always with that action comes a word like that.
Yeah.
To demean them, to say these people aren't human, and I can prove it by this word.
Right. They're X. They're
Right.
X. We call them X. And
it gives us the freedom that we need and the freedom we desire to subjugate them.
Yeah,
or hang them in the public square.
Yeah, it's why those words are, we used to think at one time in our lives, many people did, that they didn't hurt, that you could call somebody.
It's just a word.
It's just a word, or it's a nickname, or it's this, or it's that. But what you do find is that it did hurt people, and it did touch a chord inside a person that was put there hundreds of years ago. But yet, and it's really why you sometimes believe that people have led past lives.
Yeah.
Because.
And they're here to work off their karma.
Yeah. Yeah. And you feel when somebody calls you that, whatever the word is, whatever ethnic group or whatever different group that you may belong to that puts you out of the normal, that it sets off something inside of you. It's almost
that's why
orphan or something. It goes off inside of you.
You would think Klansmen that died 50 years ago would have to come back as a teenage black girl.
You would only hope. You would only hope. You would only hope that they would. You'd only hope that that's how it works, that you come back as the thing you hated the most. And that's God's little way of playing a trick on you.
Speaking of God's tricks, there's a pastor in Tennessee right now organizing regular book burnings. He says, bring your accursed items to the fire and we'll burn them as we will. Bring your Harry Potter books, bring your poetry, bring your Beatles records, bring your accursed items, and we'll burn them out here. We'll burn them out here at the church. This is where evangelical Christianity has taken itself, in alignment with the Third Reich, to destroy the ideas that they disagree with by burning them. And the stake isn't far behind. When you burn books in the county, in the center of town, it's not long before you'll burn a witch.
Yeah, it does seem that the more educated we become, the stupider we become, doesn't it?
Doesn't it make you want to read a Harry Potter book?
No, I don't think anything could make me want to read a Harry. I've never read a Harry Potter book.
I read them all.
My daughter was so into it when she was growing up, and it just has absolutely no attraction. Or I used to read her things like Supercar and Cars magazine. It just had no.
And now here's the editorial from Cars magazine.
I mean, I certainly get, read her golden books and, all the, but on the Harry Potter stuff, she was on her own, or her mom could, because her mom kind of was into it. But I just,
There's a
it
flying car in Harry Potter, a flying car and a bus that goes top
bores the living
supersonic speeds.
piss out of me, man. I don't know.
And the car got stuck in a tree, which is not a very nice tree.
No, that was
Oh,
Chitty
come
Chitty
on.
Bang Bang, wasn't it?
Well, it was Harry Potter as well. There on the grounds of Hogwarts, there's a tree that will take your flying car and do terrible things with it.
I haven't even seen one of the movies. I have, although I did send for my wonderful daughter's high school graduation, I sent her and a friend to the just opened Harry Potter Land, or whatever they call that in Florida.
There's a store here in LA on Wilshire Boulevard that carries all the school uniforms from Hogwarts, t-shirts, magic kits, anything that's to do with Harry Potter, the hat, the sorting hat, puzzles of Hogwarts.
And has who's the guy from the Crystal Palace? Robert Schuller. Well, he's not alive anymore, but has his
He came
family
back
gone
as
over there to try to burn it down?
They haven't, but he did come back as a black teenage girl.
Only fitting. Do you know that he opened the first drive-in church? Did you know that the Crystal Palace originally was a drive-in church?
I did not. The more I don't know about the Crystal Palace, I think the better off I'll be.
I was
that should be one of the questions they ask you when you get to the pearly gates. You know anything about the Crystal Palace? Do I? I was a beep
out
back of the line.
Oh, man, I was watching a CBS special report, or CBS special, America's Love Affair with Cars, that was produced probably around 1966. And it's on YouTube. It's really it's narrated by Harry Reasoner.
Wow.
And it looks at, it's an hour-long special, and it looks at our love affair with cars. And it goes all over from, it stops at a dealer. They talk to, they even have a thing where they're in a New York apartment with, I can't remember the author. Is it Tom Robbins, or is it? It's an author we both would know. And they're sitting around
probably Tom Wolfe.
Yeah, Tom Wolfe. Thank you.
Because Tom Robbins loves New York, but he stays in Washington State.
Yeah, it was Tom Wolfe, exactly. And they're, at this kind of intellectual party that happens in Manhattan all the time. And they're discussing cars, and the cameras are rolling. It's kind of, and then they take you to an art museum where the art is about cars. It's really, it's a very, it shows you, it's a very great, very good piece of where we were with cars
in the 60s. We were in a Mustang.
Yeah. It takes you through the selling process. It takes you, the funniest part is it takes you to a used car dealer up in the Bronx.
Oh God, now we're talking the car business.
And the guy is, he's got the cigar and the small office and, the calendar hanging on the wall. He's trying to set up financing for this African-American gentleman who's, you need a car to go to work, man.
Is he buying the right car, or is he buying the wrong car?
I think he's buying the wrong car, man. Something tells me this guy is getting not the car he needs, but the car that this guy wants.
Drive-in marriage parlors. There's drive-in funeral parlors where you can drive by the casket.
Oh yeah, they showed that. Yeah, they showed that. They showed the whole thing, man.
Well, I want to say something about something else we do, because we can't do drive-in vet visits, and I've been doing a lot of vet visits. I want to do a shout out to 78-year-old Dr. Diekman is his name, not Dykeman, but Diekman, Diegmmann. In 1955, he opened up the first cat clinic in the United States in Pasadena, California. And we asked him if he stayed on the premise. He says, I live here. I'm up till 4 o'clock in the morning taking care of these cats.
Wow.
And he's taking care of our cat. Tomas came down with a urinary tract infection, was very ill, almost died. The doctor brought him back after a week in the hospital. But the man does nothing but cats and has done nothing but cats all this time. He can hold your cat and tell you what's wrong with it. He can tell you how much it's going to cost you. And he can, if you get the cat there soon enough, he can save them, as he did with our kitty. But this guy is all about cats and has been all this time. He lives with them in the premises. He's there. He called us Sunday night. The cat doctor called us unbidden, called us Sunday night to check on the cat, who went home on Saturday to find out how he was doing.
Wow.
And he said, bring him in for a checkup. We just want to make sure. I said, well, we can't come. Da, 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 da. He said, just call the girls at the front desk. They'll find a time for you and I'll be here. That's it. The man is nothing but a cat doctor. And I can't believe he exists on the planet, but there he is. And he calls the cats kitties and he prays over them. And he tells them that your mom and dad are here. He insists on visits. Your cat's sick. Don't you want to visit? Yeah, we do. Come on in. They put your sick cat with you in a room and you get to make him feel better, make him purr, make him feel more at home. And it was an extraordinary experience. Now we were lucky. Our cat so far is still on the mend, but got to come home. But I had another cat, not so lucky in that regard, that was very ill. You know, sometimes the cats get old. Our cat is 7 years old. He's 45 years old in cat years. So he's too young, you would think, to have a serious disease, but not too young to die, not too young to get something really wrong and not live through the experience. So I just feel that we're lucky to have found this guy who knew something about cats in 1955 that nobody else knew, that you should treat cats separately from dogs. You don't want everybody in the waiting room to be worried about what's going to be happening to them before they even get to the doctor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure that there was back in those days, you're like, whoa.
you guys sort it out for yourself. Yeah. So that's my Spotify story. I have less Spotify, and my cat story. I still have 2 cats.
Well, it's great that we have people still in this world that aren't motivated by just the money part of it. That aren't motivated by, I got to make this, I got to make that, I got to do this, I got to do that. That they do it because they love doing it, because it's a part of who they are.
It's a gift.
Yeah, it's a gift. It's, those are the things that make you believe that there are certain people put on this earth to do certain things.
And his twin brother is a doctor, OBGYN.
There's a joke there, and I'm just
don't say it. I thought of it too. I thought of it too.
Yeah, I'm just not going there.
Both of you can't keep your hands out of the blah, blah, blah. Never mind.
Oh, Mikey. How come we didn't just take union jobs at Coca-Cola?
We could wear short sleeve drip dry shirts like they do at NASA.
Yeah, we could have, we could have
had tie
uniforms.
Yeah.
Those.
We should have been. What we're going to do in the first Sonics game plays is we'll be the halftime entertainment. We'll dress up as the Texaco guys. We'll wash your window. We'll take your oil. We'll sing a song in 3-part harmony and do a show.
You can trust your car to the man who has the star, the big bright Texaco star.
And you better trust them because they already got your hood open and God knows what they're doing in there. So you better hope that you can trust
Stories
them.
I could tell you, Michael.
I know. What the hell's going on in there? Oh, we got a problem. No,
it's always been, it's probably never going to happen, but I always thought it would be a great idea to open up a gas station.
Full service.
Where you did full service.
It would stun the world.
Where you had guys come out, or women, or what, come out in, nice uniforms like you see in the old things, and they check your oil and they, clean your windshield.
And do a good job.
and do a good job of it. Don't leave any streaks, maybe put a little Rain-X on it or something, um, and check the air in your tires,
Yep.
and you get your gas, and they send you on your way. You probably have to charge about $7 a gallon to make it happen, to keep all of those people. But I think you'd have a line around the block
I think so. I think you would.
to get your, your gasoline. You pay, you have to pay for service these days, but to get that kind of service, if you put it in the right place,
People would pay.
people would come, and they would pay to know that their, tires are all inflated to the right pressure, which is stuff that you used to get for free.
And now you can't even get air for free. They charge you for air.
See, that has always been,
That's
Michael,
your thing.
that's one thing that has pissed me off about gas stations. Air for your tires should not be charged for. You should be able to pull into any gas station and get air.
And they move the air. They move the air. So now you can't pull in, get your gas, and while the tank's filling, check your air, because the thing's not there anymore. You got to drive over to the corner where they park the cars that are waiting to be serviced and put your 75 cents in a compressor.
Right. And which the location of the pump doesn't bother me, because if you go back and you look at the old air pumps that were in gas stations, they were many gas stations had them on the island, had the hose that came out. So the guy that was putting your air in, but nowadays that would be impractical unless you had a full service station.
Right.
But the fact that you have to pay for air is a safety item on your car.
Right.
Your tires being inflated to the proper pressure is an extremely important part of the safety of the operation of your car. If your air pressure is down in the tires a couple of pounds, it could, in an emergency situation, create enough instability in a tire that it would blow out and cause you to drive off the road, drive down what are the myriad of things that could happen.
Where can you get free air in Seattle? Is there a place that you know of?
I don't know. I don't know if there's any place that you can get free air in Seattle.
There was a standard station at the corner of California and the Arroyo that had free air. Now they don't. They charge for it. At the Arco station where I get my cheap California gas, if you get a fill up, you get free air.
How much? I mean, I don't know that anybody's ever done. I'm sure somebody's done it. I'm sure if I did some research, actually. But how much could it possibly cost you to put air in a tire?
And use it as advertising, free air. We charge for gas, air is free, as it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't. I mean, it can't be more than 3 cents, 4 cents in electricity to run the compressor and the equipment to
make sure
the old air stand, the air stanchion. Of course, it costs you more now because you put that box out there that you have to put the money in. You had to pay for that. They didn't give you that for free. But I personally think, and one of these days I'm going to get on this horse enough that I'm going to take this down to the state legislature, that there should be a law that says that a gas station, a fueling station, must provide free air.
That's a good rule. It's a sensible rule amongst all our motorists.
It's just, it's ridiculous to me.
And you know who needs it? You know who would love that? John the Baptist in these 58 Chevy pulling in.
Well, with all those bottles of
you got to make sure you have air in the tires.
You got to make sure you have the right amount of air. Those roads in Bathsheba there, whatever, was kind of tough.
Bathsheba was beautiful, but the roads were a mess. You're right. You're right.
yeah, it's one of those things that have always irked me since I think the first time I pulled into a gas station and the guy told me that you had to pay for air. Now, usually if you go to a tire shop, like if you go to a Les Schwab or you go to a place like that, they'll check your tires and
they might even tighten the lug nuts, although I've seen one where they didn't.
Yeah, but for the most part, if you pull into a tire shop, they'll check your air. But who's gonna? I mean, how many people are gonna say, "Oh, I think my air's low. I'm gonna pull into the tire shop"? Not a lot.
Nobody.
I bet you they don't get but one or two people a day that might do that. And again, it's such a safety hazard. We remember. I don't know if you remember this, but several years ago, when Fords had the Michelin tires on them, if you didn't have them, the radials, if you didn't have them inflated to the proper air,
weird things would happen.
They could the bead could come off and it would blow out and you'd be rolling the thing over.
Moo.
And again, why? Because our greed, which is all it is. I mean, Michael, again, how much can it cost you?
And how much do you make on charging 75 cents for air? How much do you make every day? Not that much.
Probably 60 cents.
Yeah.
I'll bet you're making 60 cents. And if you do it 10 times a day, so you're making $6.
And for the inconvenience of having to take a dollar bill and turn it into quarters in the office before you can use before you can use it, that right there just says that you're not making a profit. What you're doing is giving your people more work.
Now there's a chain in Pennsylvania called GetGo. They're part of Giant Eagle supermarkets, but they have a chain of gas stations and convenience stores called GetGo. They give free air.
Let's give them a nice commercial, a shout out. Where can we find one in Pittsburgh?
They're all over the place. If you drive a car in Pittsburgh or in Western Pennsylvania or Eastern Ohio, you know where GetGo is, because they have a great program with Giant Eagle. When you buy your groceries, you get a lot of money off on gas. And I'm just imagining the people flying into Giant Eagle right now to get groceries and then get some money knocked off of their gallons of gas. But there's two great convenience stores in Western Pennsylvania, GetGo and Sheetz. And I don't know if Sheetz charges for air or not. I can't remember. But GetGo definitely does not, or they didn't when I left, 2 years ago. But you could always fill up, and I took advantage of it several times because unless it's an emergency, I won't pay for air.
Right.
Now, I'm trying to think if the stations on the turnpikes
have
free air. I don't think they do. I think you have to pay for air there too.
Shouldn't it be free if you fill up?
It should be free regardless. It should be.
Right.
It should be free. It's a necessity for the safety of operating your auto. And listen, people will say, "Well, it's such a small thing," but are there 10 accidents a year where people are killed because of underinflated tires? Are there 20 accidents a year in a state because people are killed? The people are killed because of underinflated tires? I mean, I don't know if when they investigate these accidents, they look at that or they have a way to tell that, but I would almost bet that underinflated tires
have to contribute to it because, again, the whole stability of the car is called into question when you don't have the proper amount of air in them. In today's tires with radials and everything, it's even more important. Yes.
You have these thin tires that are have maybe a weaker sidewall to them.
Listen to Vinnie. He knows what he's talking about. Get those tires checked today.
Yeah, check your tires, but more importantly, I mean, maybe this is the last great hurrah of a political campaign. I just think that it's ridiculous um that we don't give people free air for the tires of their car. You should pull into a gas station and there should be a pump with no coins on it, like it used to be, with the crank, and you put it to the number, to 28 or to 32 or whatever your tires are, and you fill up your tires with air. And it has a gauge on it like they used to have that tells you how many pounds of air are in your tire. If it stops 3 or 4 accidents a year,
all the better.
People will maintain their car when things are cheap, free. But if you have to go and put in, quarters into a thing, maybe you don't want to go inside and ask the guy for change. Maybe there's a line
So you
at a
just skip it.
convenience store. How many times have you gone into a store to buy something? A gas station has a store, and there's 5 people in line buying Twinkies, and you're at the end going, all you want is change, and you got to wait there. You go, you know what? I don't have time for this. I just get back in the car and go. I'll do it the next time.
Right.
So
that's a good note to end on, Vinny. It was a good show. Feller's Garage says that they're going to hire a crew to jump out and do the windows, the air, and the check the oil and the transmission fluid.
Mikey, you don't know how much I want to buy this place and just preserve it in that state for all time. That is just, it's such a, I mean, even the name, Feller's Garage.
There you go.
The Fellers are down there today.
Champion spark plugs on the side, and also you get your air and your water free.
I'm trying to see now and look in there, see if I see the air tower.
I don't see it.
Yeah, there it is. See it on the
right by your ear. There it is.
Yeah, the right side of the right side of the building.
Yep.
You see the hose out there. That's what my father used to have. He used to have a hose that stuck out of the garage door, and every morning you had to put that hose out, man, and leave that hose out so that people could pull up there and get air for their tires.
That's how I used to do it.
Yeah, that's how they used to do it. Now you got to pay for air. How ridiculous. All right, man. I will talk to you on Wednesday if the Lord's
Wednesday of this week. There you go.
Yeah, we got a full week of shows, a full week of stuff. The ground war hasn't started yet, so that's a good thing.
Spolpaki is still free.
It's still free until otherwise informed. The Radio Free Spolpakia is Scataticha to scatiete, as they say.
Now a golden oldie from the Duets out of Chicago.
All right, Mikey, man, as we always say, and everybody, thank you for listening. Peace, love, Manischewitz.
What a wine.
Take care.